Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. It's time for a long anticipated racing video here on the channel, and 2022 was a stellar year for British flat racing with highlights aplenty, and we all covered them on the channel. But there was one major thing missing, and that was Oisin Murhpy. The champion jockey of 2021 did not ride at all in 2022. He was banned by the British Horse Racing Authority, and Smido is going to give us a little bit of background on the situation. Smido.
Yeah, thanks, Pieman. Well, as usual for British racing, it was, and particularly disciplinary issues, it was a bit of a mess. Well, a lot of a mess, really, let's be honest. First and foremost, Oisin was a pretty naughty boy, not for the first time, and he did deserve to be punished, and punished he was. He was banned for a total of 14 months from December 2021 and can and will reapply for his licence in about a month's time. And he could resume on February the 16th, 2023, if he wishes. Everyone assumes he'll be back riding, and he said as much. Was the ban harsh? Was it lenient, possibly? You'd need a deeper dive into the history of similar cases. It felt about right to me, but I'm no expert, just a follower of the sport rather than the politics. He got 11 months for breaching the COVID rules, which is chunky. So in September 2020, at the height of COVID, where racing was still going ahead, but behind closed doors, I was obviously testing jockeys and trying to keep that, if one jockey gets COVID and passes it around the weighing room, the whole sport could come to a standstill. Oisin Murhpy, as an individual, put that at risk and lied about it over a prolonged period. What he did is he went on holiday. You could say he was a little bit unlucky because he went on holiday to Mykonos in September 20. I think he was banned at the time. That's why he went on holiday, a short ban. Whilst he was on holiday, Mykonos was changed to the famous or infamous UK red list in terms of COVID restrictions. So he had to isolate upon return. That happened while he was already at that destination. Slightly unlucky. He should have stayed at home for 2 weeks when he got back. He didn't. Instead, he went up and down the country riding 74 horses in that 2-week period when he should have been isolating, and 11 winners. And then he lied about it. He said that he was at Lake Como or something rather than Mykonos. He got found out. Bad, really quite bad. Then on top of that 11 months, he got 100 days for 2 failed alcohol tests. One was in May 2021, I think at Chester, and the other was in October 2021 at Newmarket. The latter of which was accompanied by an allegation of an altercation with a bloodstock agent in Newmarket the night before. He had a Group 1 ride on the day he tested positive in the Fillies Mile. A little bit shady, but someone was basically tipped off. The drugs, the alcohol and breath testers weren't due to be at Newmarket that day. They went there to get one man, and they got their man off a so-called anonymous tip, no less. The COVID stuff happened. Everyone maybe was confused or peed off at the time with what was going on with COVID, not making any excuses. But the alcohol stuff with Oisin has been a big problem. That's 3 failed tests in total, 2 in 2021. There was one a couple of years before that. So Oisin Murhpy, as an individual, one person, accounts for 40% of all failed alcohol tests by jockeys this century in the UK. That's by jumps and flat. That is some stat that one man accounts for 40% of all failed tests. There's in the region of 15 to 1,600 tests taken place amongst that time. So a tricky period for the young man.
Yeah, a really interesting case as well. I mean, it's some of it's pretty damning stuff, isn't it? I mean, the COVID stuff, I guess, unprecedented in a way. We'd never had a situation like that before. But, I mean, he's kind of gone above and beyond there. In my eyes, lying about where he's been, thinking that he wouldn't get found out is a little bit cheeky, borderline ignorant, I think. Having looked at it in a bit more detail, I think the thing that stood out to me, why did it take 7 months for the public to be made aware of that failed alcohol test? Because that was in May in Chester. So it just seems like an awful long time.
Oh, I've not got a clue, Pieman. It's borderline disgraceful, really. And I don't think that question's been answered. Someone can correct me in the comments if it has, but from what I've looked at a fair bit, it doesn't look like it's been answered to me. There's an argument to be made that the only reason the October failed test came out into the public domain was that the Sun ran the story about an assault the night before, and obviously he missed a high-profile ride on that day in a Group 1 that people were asking questions about. But it didn't even come out then. The May test didn't come out in October. The May test came out in December. The whole thing really reminded me of a few years ago, Mohammed Al Zarouni case. It was dealt with by the BHA pretty much behind closed doors. The hearing happened rather quickly, brushed under the carpet, move on, he's banned, move on. All very stage managed, in my opinion. Oisin handed his licence in December 2020 on a voluntary basis, possibly to preempt the investigation. And he basically started the ban at that point voluntarily. That's a quiet, very, very quiet time of the year for flat racing in December. He would have been doing pretty much no riding anyway. So he's handed his licence in and it was backdated to that point. A clever kind of move, but that sounds to me like the tail is wagging the dog rather than the dog wagging the tail. In terms of the BHA should be deciding when the ban starts, not Oisin Murhpy. That didn't sit right with me. Then when the findings and ban was announced, it was like a joint statement between the BHA and Oisin Murhpy. All very strange. There needs to be. We need to know who's in charge really around these parts in racing.
Yeah, just cloak and dagger. It's just not a good look, is it, from the outside? I think you'd really struggle to explain that to somebody who's didn't know anything about racing, and you show them the way that this investigation has been handled. It's just not a good look. Okay, so we presume that Oisin's going to start riding again in February. What does 2023 look like for the former champion jockey?
I think he'll be a title contender for sure. His second favourite behind reigning champion William Buick already. The actual Jockey's Championship title race doesn't start until May and ends in October, so it doesn't actually engulf the whole season. Maybe one for another day. But if there was a good time to come back, it's February, just as the all-weather action is ramping up towards Good Friday, when the all-weather actually gets quite decent in February and March, and ultimately the flat season proper from April onwards. He's essentially, in my eye, got 2 months from February to April to get match fit and firing. He'll have plenty of trainers giving him rides on the all-weather early doors. That's and then it's business as usual on the turf. What has he got to look forward to? His main source of rides is Andrew Balding, as we know, and Andrew is operating the trainer is operating at a higher level than ever, and with more quality horses than ever. Really, he even got his first batch of Juddmonte horses last year, one of which could well be a leading 2000 Guineas contender in a horse called Chaldine. Check out the channel if you want to know more about that horse. But yeah, in 2021, Oisin had plenty of outside rides for Ed Walker, Saeed bin Suroor, Hughie Morrison, and there's no reason why that won't resume, to be honest. He's a very, very good rider. I'd also look out for Murphy getting more rides for Hugo Palmer. That trainer moved down south to Newmarket last year. Moved from Newmarket to the northwest with Michael Owen last year. So as he establishes that, I think look out for Murphy getting some more rides for Hugo Palmer.
And then just perhaps on a side note, I mean, we know that Frankie Dettori's announced his decision to retire in this year. Do you think longer term is Oisin the man to fill that gap as like racing's kind of pin-up jockey, I suppose, or as what happened away from the track done too much damage?
Definitely a bit of both there, Pie Man. He's young enough to repair that damage, and there obviously is some PR damage been done. No one will replace Frankie. He's been absolutely brilliant for British racing over the years, and racing definitely don't know how lucky they have been to have had Frankie, and they might find out in 2024 when there is no Frankie doing riding. But in a sport low on personalities, Oisin Murhpy certainly stands out. A great talker. Just really articulate, knows the form book inside out, obviously really good in the saddle as well. There was certainly a time in 2020 and 21 where he was definitely being lined up as the next Frankie, if that is such a thing. The good pals behind the scenes, but a lot of water has clearly passed under the bridge since 2021 in terms of the disciplinary issues. He's really engaging on social media and TV alike. He did a bit for At the Races last year at Royal Ascot. The other aspects of the game he knows well, like the breeding and the sales. He's been doing other kind of periphery horse racing sports. The show jumping, he's been doing that whilst he's been banned from race riding. It's certainly an opportunity to fill the Frankie void, but no one ever truly will. I really do like Oisin Murhpy, both in and out the saddle. I've been lucky enough to chat with him on a handful of occasions. He sought help. He's received it in terms of the drinking. He served his ban. I hope he comes back better than ever. I really do.
Yep, here. Everyone makes mistakes, and you've got to have a chance to put that right. And he's going to get that chance, and it's going to be a very interesting one to follow as the season progresses. Just having a little glance at the Flat Jockeys Championship, I see that William Buick is actually a 1-2 shot at the top of that market with Oisin 7-4. So certainly looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of the young Irishman when he returns from his ban in February. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back with more racing content soon. If you enjoy the video, please do give us a like. And if you're not already, please do subscribe to Doubles and Trebles. Thanks for watching.